What made you call the police on your own mother? Growing up, I was never allowed in the basement. Mom always said it was too dangerous. There were tools, old paint cans, and sharp stuff everywhere. She'd get this weird look in her eyes whenever I even asked about it, like she was scared or something. When I turned 15, I started noticing things. At night, I'd hear tapping sounds from the floorboards below my room. At first, I thought it was just pipes or maybe mice, but the noises were too rhythmic, too human. Sometimes it sounded like soft crying, but whenever I asked Mom about it, she'd just say the house was old and making settling noises. Mom worked at a homeless shelter downtown. She'd leave every morning at 7 and come back around dinner time, always talking about how she was helping people get back on their feet. She seemed so proud of her volunteer work, always bringing home stories about the girls she was mentoring. One Tuesday, Mom rushed out for work and forgot to lock the basement door. I'd been curious for years, and this was my chance. My heart was pounding as I crept downstairs, expecting to find old Christmas decorations and broken furniture. What I found instead made my stomach drop. In the far corner, past shelves of boxes and dusty furniture, was a large dog crate, and inside it was a girl around my age. She looked dirty, exhausted, and absolutely terrified when she saw me. I tried to ask who she was, but she just shook her head frantically and whispered, "Please don't let her know you saw me. She gets angry when we make noise during the day." I stumbled back upstairs, my hands shaking as I locked the door again. I sat on my bed for hours, trying to process what I'd seen. When Mom came home, she acted completely normal, asking about my day and making dinner like nothing was wrong. But now I was paying attention. I noticed how she always went to the basement around the same time every evening, how she brought food down there in a paper bag and never brought anything back up, how she'd bought extra groceries lately but we never seemed to have more food in the house. That night, I heard the crying again, but this time I also heard Mom's voice, talking softly through the floor. I couldn't make out the words, but her tone was gentle, almost motherly. It made my skin crawl. The next day, I waited until Mom left for work, then called the police from a payphone 3 blocks away. I didn't know how to explain it without sounding insane, so I just said, "There's a girl locked in a cage in my basement on Maple Street." When the cops arrived with social services, Mom tried to play dumb. She told them I was acting out and going through a rebellious phase, making up stories for attention. But once they opened that basement door, they arrested her on the spot. Turns out the girl had been missing for 3 months. Her name was Rachel, and she'd been living on the streets when Mom found her. But Mom wasn't the only one down there. They found evidence of 2 other girls who'd been kept in that basement over the past year. During the investigation, I learned Mom had been taking vulnerable girls from the shelter, telling them she could give them a safe place to stay. She convinced them their families didn't want them, and that the outside world was too dangerous. She said she was protecting them and keeping them safe from drugs and bad influences. The worst part was finding out she'd been doing this for over 2 years, right under my nose. All those nights I heard crying, all those extra groceries, all those times she talked about mentoring girls at work, it was all happening in our basement. Mom tried to contact me during the trial, sending letters through her lawyer saying she did it all to help those girls, that I didn't understand how cruel the world could be to kids with nowhere to go. She said she loved me and just wanted to keep everyone safe. I never responded to a single letter. I couldn't even look at her when she was sentenced to 15 years in prison. The judge called it kidnapping and false imprisonment, but to me, it was something much worse. It was my mother being a monster while I slept right above her victims.